The term fandom has only become more mainstream over time. With the creation of the internet and internet chat boards, finding places where people are just as passionate as yourself about a certain intellectual property or hobby is incredibly easy. I mean, that's basically the point of Reddit. I could talk about how everything is a fandom now, but that isn't relevant for the video. The main thing I want to focus on is cartoons and the cartoon community. The age of the internet has made some of the biggest, most outrageous fandoms ever, and most of them are related to a cartoon in some way. For example, bronies.
Get the hell out! Get out!
I'm joking. I'm sure most bronies are very nice people. In the first half of the 2010s, you could find these fan bases everywhere. 4chan, Reddit, Facebook, YouTube, Tumblr, Twitter. These fan bases have always been a thing, but they have been growing at a never before seen rate during this time. And with this insane level of growth also came a lot of people coming to these fan bases, and not all of them were, well, how do I say this nicely? Most of them weren't mentally there. During the period of 2010 to 2015, there were multiple cases of insane stories in these fandoms, and while I'd love to go over every single story I've ever seen personally, I either don't have the evidence to back it up or just can't be bothered. All I can say is some of the stuff that I've experienced is insane. I'd like to say that now that things have calmed down since then, but I'd be lying. In fact, things have only gotten worse. Before it would be stories about the fan base being insane, something very easy to ignore. But what happens when the very people writing the thing you like make the show go trending because of how insane they are? Another reason things have gotten worse is because the gate of entries for these hit cartoons of big fandoms has decreased. Question mark? That's not exactly what I mean. The process of creating a high quality cartoon probably hasn't become any easier, but the groups of people who are allowed to have drastically increased due to the many ways they're able to promote their shows. For example, Long Gun Gulch. I put Undertale porn in that video. Or the show that will be receiving most of my attention, Has Been Hotel, and also Hell of a Boss. They're made by the same person. These two shows were created by the same person, and surprisingly, that person happens to be in the title of this video. Whoa. Vivziepop is okay, we already know who Vivziepop is. She arguably made two of the most popular adult cartoons ever, even though most of the fandom are preteens, and did many other things. Vivziepop is a person many people would look up to. She managed to make two successful cartoons on YouTube. The pilot of Has Been Hotel has nearly 100 million views at the time of recording and got picked up by an actual network. This is legendary work. But I would be a liar if I said that this all occurred through hard work and being a good person, or that Vivzie was completely perfect. Well, that's the energy I get from Twitter anyway. Yeah, going into this, I wasn't really sure what exactly I was looking for, because Twitter was using words that made me want to blow my brains out. And I also had to funnel through so much false info. Despite what you might be thinking, I'm not going to spend the next minutes bashing Vivziepop for everything she's ever done. I remember that one time you didn't put the coin in the basket. But this isn't to say that I'm going to defend Vivzie from anything and everything under the sun. Surprisingly, videos like this are allowed to be nuanced and give critiques when they're valid. This video will cover a few of Vivzie's old controversies and new ones too. The good, the bad, the incredibly stupid, and I wouldn't have to bring up if I didn't know at least one of you would have brought up in the damn comments. This is the many controversies of Vivziepop. Hey you, yes you. Do you care about me and my birthday wish? Oh, you don't? Alright then, you should still subscribe though.
Oh no!
Hi, I want to hit 50k before my birthday, which is funny because this is airing like the day of my birthday, so that's cool. I also have a Discord, Twitter, and Twitch if you really want to get to know me behind the mask. What? And hey, while I'm being lynched by Vivziepop fans, I'd like it if you could also give me money. Here are all of the perks on screen if you care about that, and that's it. Back to the video. Again, I know since someone is going to bring this up in the comments, I might as well talk about this. Let's go through a bunch of non-issues, or what I like to call the content creators aren't allowed to be regular human beings starter pack. Alright, firstly, Vivziepop made some cringe drawing that apparently means she's a zoof. Trigger warning zoof / NSFW. She has drawn a character, presumably a child, but I am not sure, having sex with a snake. I don't like this personally, but randomly dropping that this character was a child is kinda wild, because they weren't actually a child. This drawing is Very weird, and I'm not gonna defend that, and neither is Vivzie. I guess I now have to add that any cringy art I drew from 2012 when I was 19. It was legal then, it's legal now. It was also tagged as being an inside joke? Even back then. Do I think it's strange? Yeah, it's cringy and I don't like it any more than you guys do. I was a dumb kid figuring myself out, but I have never drawn explicitly NSFW or broken the law then or now. Stop, please. Numero 2. Vivzie made a nonce character, which would be bad if they weren't the villain of the story. This would be a major issue if Vivzie was romanticizing this, or treated the nonce like the good guy. But this isn't true, and various other bits of media have done this with antagonists before. Don't get me wrong, this type of depiction is very uncomfortable, and you're valid for feeling that way. But labeling Vivziepop as a nonce is kinda wild, and also wrong. Oh, speaking of, this character is from a comic called Zoophobia. I'm not sure where this rumor started from, but apparently Vivzie also tried to sue Disney for their movie Zootopia, or the objectively worse name Zootropolis. I went digging and there's no real evidence of this. I also don't think Vivzie is dumb enough to try this, since that would be a losing battle. Trust me, I'd know. Second is the rumors that I sued Disney over Zootopia. Do I even need to dignify this one? No, I never did this. Why on earth would I do that? You left out a question mark there. I was emotional over the title. I have since posted nothing but support and love for the movie. I have also explained in detail in past years why I was emotional about the movie. Never that I had bitterness for or felt any legal right to the concept. Then there are the accusations of racism and transphobia. I feel like every time I hear something like this, the context is just removed. Vivzie making fan art for Blair White was incredibly ignorant, and I will not defend that. However, it's that very ignorance that makes me think this wasn't done maliciously. Blair White is a popular creator, and it's not insane that people just don't know about the stuff that she says all the time. I think this one is mainly on Vivzie's ignorance and a lot of internet people holding old stuff over a person's head even when they're much older. You can hate me if you want. You can think that I'm not the glowing perfect creator everyone seems to expect me to be nowadays. I've made plenty of mistakes. I can be sarcastic. I can kinda be on bad days on social media. Sometimes I make dumb jokes or mistakes online. Sometimes I have dumb opinions on things. Everyone does. But don't drag up shit from 2 years ago like it's relevant now. Things I didn't do, I'm not responsible for edgy jokes made by others. Alright, now that we've gotten past the things that don't matter but I know someone would bring them up in the comments so I talk about it anyway section, we can talk about the most important things like pro shippers. Oh no. Hang on one second, I'm just covering up my windows before someone throws a Molotov through them. I typically avoid pro-ship / anti-ship discourse because it's really stupid and childish. Which is incredibly ironic since most of these peoples have minors DNI in their bios. But I'm gonna drop maybe the coldest take in the world. If you're okay with shipping minors with adults, we can't be friends. And I don't vibe with you. Hey, chill, put away the gun! Pro ship means you're okay with every ship. That includes meaning off that alone, pro shipping is bad. Now I bet this is where you'd think I just explode at Vivziepop for being a pro shipper. Trigger warning, pro ship Vivziepop. I'm pretty sure Vivzie is a pro shipper herself. I'm not shocked at all with all this other stuff she's done. But there is absolutely no evidence to support this.
Congratulations! Congratulations.
Shut up, blood!
But oranges. She follows 2 pro shippers. Now I'm gonna sound insane for this, but Vivzie following pro shippers isn't inherently bad. Hear me out. Big creators won't be able to filter out everyone they follow, especially if Vivzie had already worked with this person and then followed. I think people forget just how many people Vivziepop interacts with daily. Using me for an example here because I'm a massive narcissist, I only follow about 400 accounts, and I'm convinced that at least 3 of them are nonces. Following doesn't equal endorsement, and it would be impossible for someone of Vivzie's size to be aware of everyone she chooses to follow. However, again, once being alerted, she probably should have unfollowed because, as mentioned previously, if you're okay with you're weird and probably a that is something you can criticize Vivzie for. But calling her a pro shipper is a bit of a stretch, especially with no proof. Nice, good job. Anyway, I'm gonna move on to the next section in a, hey, what's that noise? Unsurprisingly, an animated TV show has animation and writing drama. The part I want to talk about is the quote-unquote poor working conditions this person presented to the public. Now, I know you probably are asking a few questions. Definitely Bored Oranges from the YouTube channel Definitely Bored Oranges. Why did you say that in quotations? Well, because there is absolutely no evidence provided for this, and I mean nothing. I will show nothing but a black screen while I provide context. Aaron Frost describes issue with the working environment while working with Vivziepop and her team. However, there is, as I've said before, literally no evidence provided. So recently an ex-crew member on Hell of a Boss named Aaron Frost came out and spoke about their horrible time working on the show. Viv apparently is worse than we could have imagined. I knew she was bad, but this is gross. Hey, it's me, Goku! Hey, been pretty quiet for a while because working on Hell of a Boss my mental health so badly I've given up on animation entirely and haven't been able to draw for the last year or so since I quit. Vivziepop is an awful human being. It's not just that Vivzie demanded unreasonably tight deadlines when she even gave us deadlines, but she also demanded our loyalty as employees. We weren't allowed to speak positively about other shows, especially not other indie projects. We weren't really allowed to work on other indie projects either. It was frowned on. I remember one time Viv got us all on the Discord group call and streamed a crossover episode of Villainous and another CNN show. She encouraged everyone to make fun of it and tear apart every little flaw. She would also speak poorly of other creators, indie or otherwise. I distinctly remember her mentioning that it was supposedly utter hell to work with Dana Terrace of the Owl House. It was just deeply toxic all around. Not just the way the animation and design work was done, that being highly disorganized and unprofessional, but also the culture. When I first joined the studio, it felt like Viv treated me as an equal, and I'm sure it felt that way for a lot of us. But gradually, a hierarchy came into place. Viv had her favorites, the people who flattered her and rarely if ever showed interest in anything that wasn't Has-Been or Hell of a Boss, and her executives of sorts, her close friends and favorites. From what I figure, once the first episode of Helliver went live and Viv insisted on uploading it on a new episode every 1 to 2 months, things got progressively worse. She had little to no sympathy for those of us who needed to do day jobs to support ourselves. She wanted us to have the turnout of a brick and mortar studio with none of the organization, professionalism, or employee benefits. I was working 30 to 40 hour weeks at Starbucks because I had bills/loans to pay. I once pulled an all-nighter to try and meet a deadline which was only given out when I asked for one, and which turned out to be less than a week away. I stayed up all night to meet the deadline and then went immediately to my 8-hour shift at Starbucks. The lack of appreciation was so crushing. However, many other people who worked on the show came out in support of Vivziepop and said that there were good work conditions. Ultimately, the only people who know what's real is the Spindle Horse animation team. But I can tell you that depictions of Vivz as some kind of cunning, greedy, manipulative monster are hilarious. She's got the demeanor of a little baby lamb and repeatedly let slide that I'd never. As an animator member at Spindle Horse Hell of a Boss, in my experience, I've never gotten overworked or anything close to a bad working environment. This is my first industry job and I love every second of it. I'm not sure about my other co-workers, but for me, it's good. So, is this real? I can't really be sure. From the information we have public, I'm leaning towards no, since everyone else seemed to have a completely fine time working. But I'd be a bad actor if I didn't point out that people coming to Vivzie's defense do, well, work for her or have something to gain from defending her. It's not insane for them to be on contract or be too scared of being blacklisted from the animation community. I don't know. I can't really give an objective fact about this part, so think what you'd like. Some random internet user also came out and tried to make up money estimates for how much the animators were getting paid. I can only imagine they use Social Blade, which is not at all an accurate way to do this. Most fully produced cartoons are most studios that cover insurance, etc., and are union based cost roughly 1 million an episode. Some, not all. I do not make 60k on YouTube. I assume you got that from one of those guesstimate sites. I paid my team more gradually as the project made more. I don't owe you the numbers. The only people needing them are my employees. Thanks for playing. Please note the phrase, I paid my team more gradually as the project made more. Now, she implies Has-Been Hotel only cost 1 million. She didn't do that, by the way. And she acts like she followed union standards. She also didn't do that, by the way. Which I'm about to prove she didn't. Well, that would mean each animator only got paid around 10k on average from anywhere from a year to 3 years of work. The average minimum wage in the US is $7.25 an hour. Or $15,000 a year. If you worked on Has-Been for 2 years, which was the average according to Vivziepop, you only got to make $5K per year. 1/3 of that is minimum wage job. Now, here's where things get tricky. Another animator just came out and completely debunked this. We were paid in flat rates, not hourly. That's the way it's always been. 2. The patron didn't hit full production until well into the production when things were already winding down. 3. Has-Been Hotel is an indie production with nothing but crowdfunding. You don't join an indie production for money. We joined because we believed in the project and supported it. 4. Has-Been Hotel did not cost 3 to 7? What? Has-Been Hotel did not cost 3 to 7 million. That's literally insane. It didn't even cost 1 million to make. The numbers you pulled out make 0 sense. 5. To compensate for the amount of money being put in, pay did increase, especially with Helluva Boss. But it's still a flat rate model, not hourly. She probably blocked OP because she's tired of the drama. We're all tired. You all find something new every day and it's really just frustrating and annoying. But do you even ask us? No, of course not, because it doesn't fit your narrative. SMH. The final section of this story is easily the longest and the one where I genuinely believe Vivziepop was partially in the wrong for. On May 9th, Kendra's released a document going over their personal experience of Vivziepop. If you want my honest take, I don't think any of this needed to be made public. To be honest, I think I could say the same about a lot of the stuff that I cover on this channel, but I do really mean it. The first point covers tracing one of the characters in Has-Been Hotel. What was their name again? Sorry, they're all incredibly forgettable. Pops back in before heading to bed and oh my gosh. You drew her so lovely. I love it. Multiple hearts. Also, your drawing of Cherry is so good. Can I work off her pose for my final RF of her? Sure. Thanks. I'll credit you if I post it anywhere. I just love that pose so much. I'm glad. And are you okay? But thank you so much for everything tonight. I hope you have a really good one. Of course, man, sleep well. Despite claiming that she would credit me for essentially tracing my art, she has not, to my public knowledge, publicly mentioned that I am the original artist. This is a running theme and a common thread. Fuck, I did it again. Now, to be entirely honest, Vivzi was wrong here. Regardless of whoever made up the character, Vivzi should have properly credited Ken for basically designing the final product of the character. Am I saying Ken should receive a credit everywhere the character is used? No, but the stuff like the show, for example, I think crediting Ken there makes sense, like putting them in the description. But Ken's wrong about the tracing point. I'd say heavily referenced since the image doesn't exactly line up with Ken's. But I think what happened here would really mess up their later discussions between these two. So Ken had some writing credits, and by writing credits, I mean 3 whole jokes. There were obviously other things, but a lot of it was really small or drastically changed between the creation and final release stages. She would not only trace art that I had drawn for her, but would also steal and repurpose things that I told her about my own concepts and characters, then feign ignorance and tell folks I was being ridiculous for rightfully being upset at her for taking something I told her in confidence. Hey, I don't want to make this awkward, but certain names I can't pronounce doesn't have what I have for TF, right? With their hats' third eye showing their real emotions, because I told you about that last year, and it's a major design element I'm super protective and proud of. If it really bothers you that much, I can make it so it's more of a manifestation of his brain. That's always how I envisioned it. Like it's more of an version of his thoughts rather than anything spiritual. Most of the time when I add that kind of element to a character, it's because there's tons of media that have done that, and I want to call back to it too. So I can assure you I didn't do something like that because I got the idea from TF. Well, it's supposed to be TF's actual thoughts and expressions. I'm not accusing you of taking it, I just assume maybe you forgot. I don't know, but I did tell you about it. I mean, it's kind of uncomfortable to me. It's very similar, but only the intention behind it. I'm not saying his design has to change or anything like that. No, you did. I remember, which is why it's stressful, because I really didn't mean to come off like I was intentionally trying to do something similar. Like, I can promise you it never crossed my mind. I personally think it's a bit silly to get upset over this, and this is coming from somebody who thinks that the whole like closed species thing people do is really dumb. I just personally feel doing stuff like that stifles creativity, and also third eyes aren't really something you own, even though it's something on a hat. Like, okay. I do not know Ken personally or well enough to be able to make a judge on whether or not this was paranoia for their previous event, or Ken has just always been this protective over ideas that they don't really own. Sorry, that was mean. Ken also had an issue of Vivzi refusing to credit them for a GIF. Yes, a GIF. Hi, Editing Oranges here. I just want to add on that yes, Ken did get credit later on. I think you should credit everyone who had a hand in it every time, because we're all in this together. If you just post it without that, people will think it's all you. That's what people assume. You know this. You know your fans assume that you do everything on your lonesome. This is where, to me at least, this becomes a battle of interpretations. Various times throughout this conversation, Ken could come off as hostile depending on how you read things. For example, what do you think I'm doing right now, Vivian? I'm expressing my thoughts in the moment to you. I am not being hostile. I am calmly telling you my thoughts. What do you think I'm doing right now, Vivian? I am expressing my thoughts in the moment to you. I am not being hostile. I am calmly telling you my thoughts. I'm not trying to tone police or anything, but I believe these two just had completely different interpretations out of this. Vivzie had mentioned before feeling like Ken was coming off as hostile, whereas Ken might have not felt that way, which has easily led to these two starting to build up resentment for each other. This is basically what happened with Vivzie going to another person to talk about Ken while also misgendering them. Also, I don't mean to be a drama, and it might be safer to unfollow her after this shit blows over. I'm planning to reach out to most of our mutuals when it's done. Ken Draws is totally an abuse. They had a call out and I stood by them, but their recent actions have totally awakened me to what I've endured. I just saw you are following them and I wanted you to warn you just in case they've tried or done anything to you. They are a monster. They are refusing to sign the Husband Hotel chain of title, which basically means the show's future is in their control. Yeah, I've known them since I was underage. They've been a horrid influence and I can't believe I've let them be on my project, let alone bully me into writing credit. I looked into this and I couldn't find any concrete evidence about this. So Vivzie going to this person to basically throw them under the bus is wrong. If Vivzie had given someone a warning, I wouldn't care. If Vivzie had voiced this to Ken, I also wouldn't care. But going behind a person's back to cut them off isn't how I'd personally handle this, and I personally really hate it. For this next section, I have to point out that I am friends of trans people, so Vivzie is not transphobic. Notice throughout the DM conversation, she is constantly switching between the two pronouns. I don't think this was intentional. I hate the idea that these two not properly expressing their issues with one another and being incredibly paranoid had led to this happening. I honestly believe both of them have done things wrong and both of them can learn from this. With all of that covered, there is only one section left. You people watching this video. The reason that this is its own section is because random Twitter comments are the main thing I wanted to talk about and looked into at the start of this. The amount of misinformation being spread by the terminally online Twitter users is just frustrating and annoying. Before making this video, I thought Vivziepop was this terrible human being who was everything phobic and overworked their employees. But the moment I actually went in and looked for the evidence for these things, they were either taken out of context, straight up lies, or provided no evidence. And that's not to say that Vivzie is a perfect human being. I've pointed out many times where I believe that she has done the wrong thing. She should also get called out for that. But hanging on to evidence that is over 4 years old is just so corny. And there are definitely YouTubers who are responsible for such massive bits of Discord. But, you know, I'm not gonna say any names. Lamau. Ken was kinda raw for that, I won't lie. Something that makes this even more complicated is the fact that Vivziepop can tweet just about anything and people will lose their marbles. Everything she sends ends up pissing off somebody and any type of group, and then a video is made. But it's surprising when she has a breakdown and tells everyone to off. To an extent, Vivzie isn't helping their case by making multiple tweet threads on stuff that really doesn't matter, like a character's writing in Hell of a Boss. Like, honestly, why are you responding to this? I think a lot of the times Vivzie kind of feeds into the people going after her by responding to literal nobodies on Twitter. Sometimes not even responding is the best play. Vivziepop is a creator who has done amazing work inspiring creators and giving jobs to a lot of talented voice actors and animators, but I also think she's someone who does a lot of really stupid things, and someone who's a little bit fragile over how people see her work. But she's also someone with a massive audience and a huge hatedom who try to attack her for everything she's ever done. So what is the moral of the story? Twitter's a bad platform, teenagers use it to cause issues, and I would know because I'm one of them. Really, that's it honestly. I think people need to stop holding creators to insane standards, but I also think creators need to take accountability for their actions when possible. So that's the end of my video. I'd like to thank everyone watching and especially the people funding this. And Pwep, Sabin, Oliver, Nakotra Official, Grizzly Bear 1996, Kinda Snowy, Clapped Seal, Alec the Shark, and Alien Hunter. I'm going to go enjoy my birthday now. I hope everyone has a wonderful day because I sure will. Thanks for watching. See ya, lads.